now we are going to start about some English language teaching method. So selection and use of teaching strategies. Some emotions has the power to increase retention and learning. And we tend to remember and learn more those that strike our hearts. Let us add an emotional touch to learning. So learning is meaningful when it is connected to students' everyday life. So, good teaching, goes beyond recall of information. It is to develop, creativity and, creative and, critical thinking. It should, reach the levels of applications and analysis and synthesis and evaluation to hone our students' thinking skills. And these are some, some, and integrated teaching approaches for more effective than teaching isolated bits of information, verbal, linguistic, and logical, mathematical, spatial, and bodily, and musical, interpersonal, and naturalistic. So these are we are having some communicative approaches also we are having. So communication word, like Latin word, communis. So communis is drive from the Latin word communico and communication, which means to meaningful message of meaningful message convey. And communicative approach language learning, and field of latest innovations and approaches, methods of approaches. We are just you know uh, we are just having English language teaching or learning problems. So this approach, learners have a communicative skills to develop, or stress and approach, learner centric approach, and learner or grammatical competencies. So we can simply say these are some methods in English language. So we have to focus about the some methods. So now research and brain-based instructional strategies. So symbolic and concrete and research-based abstract. So brain-based instructional strategies. So authentic problem solving example, comparing the meaning and polls at school result to national elections, result in tabulating the result, discuss the reasons for the differences, and project-based multimedia and examples class will work on the memories of World War II and produce a song from that era and display a college and photographs and other memorabilia and role plays as meaning makers. Example is Harris store to give elementary pupils experience in making a budget, stay within the budget, and counting change for visuals and powerful aids and in retention as well as understanding to help students organize their thinking, and teachers use graphing. So brain-based instructional strategies, example of graphics and graphic organizers for classification. So brain-based instructional strategies, mean descriptive pattern organizer, fact and topic. So event, in event we will discuss about some date and venue and time. So brain-based instructional strategies, like episode pattern organizer. So we have to focus on that, place and time and duration and causes and their facts, person and duration also. So brain-based instructional strategies, concept pattern organizer, example, characteristics, in characteristics we will focus about some examples. And so, in classroom management, assertive discipline, we require, teach students to accept the consequences of their actions and more on positive and praises them than punishments, and be responsible of the actions you are acted upon. So theory X and theory Y. So theory X is a Newtonian and Y is post-Newtonian. X suggests that people will do the minimum possible amount of work necessary to accomplish the task, and Y suggests that all people want to succeed, but there are obstacles in their path which in their progress of these obstacles are removed, then they can succeed as well as anyone else. So classroom management, control theory, called as reality therapy, is a series of steps to help children understand their choices they are making. He suggests that there are four basic needs: love, control, freedom, and fun. So these are necessary for healthy, psychological balance. So classroom management, so behaviorism Skinner. So molding all children to conform by use of standard punishments and rewards. The initial condition are individuals, and the equations are those behavioristic techniques set out to modify the individuals. So in classroom management, transactional analysis studies the interactions of behavior between teachers and students. He even suggests three stages of development, called ego stage, child, parent, and adult. Order for teachers to be successful in this theory, they need to remain in the adult ego and be are able to recognize the ego state of students around them. Teachers can recognize the games that students may play in a child ego state and teach students to behave in an adult ego state. So, notes model concentrates on the communication between teacher and student. So, it concentrates on avoiding criticism and trying to understand the students' feelings. So, okay, model students are intrinsically motivated to behave properly if they are taught how to do it. Role of the teacher is to teach students how to monitor themselves. So Jones' model assumption of this model is a child needs to be controlled, and that teachers can achieve this control through body language, administration, and parental support. According to Edward 1993, stopping instructions, starting and straining about sitting close to the student are all powerful intimidations techniques which should stop students from misbehaving. So some different approaches and methods start to follow. Provide the rationally and demonstrate the skill. Provide guided practice and check for understanding, and provide feedback. Provide extended practice and transfer. So different approaches and methods how to do it. To explain the rational and objectives of the lesson, inform them of how long the lesson will take, and provide motivation and draw commitment from them. Conduct the demonstration, assign practice for short periods of time, continue practice to that to the point of over learning for the complete mastery, and provide feedback video taking of performance test or written comments. Focus on performance evaluation rather than on pencil and paper test. The student should create the skill master. So different approaches and methods, example, deductive method is also very important method in English language teaching. So in the teacher dominated method, it begins with the abstract rule, generalization, principle, and with the specific examples and concrete details. So advantages and disadvantages are there. So a coverage of a wider scope by stating at once the rule or the principle at the beginning of the class, We cover more subject matter over a period of time, to no bother on the part of a teacher to lead the learners to the formulations of generalization or rule. It is not, is not supportive of the principle that learning is an active process that involvement on the part of the learner. Lesson appears, uninteresting at first due to abstract presentation at start, and it will look irrelevant and uninteresting. So, in inductive method is less, I think there is some error. Yes. So in inductive method is less teacher directed than the deductive method. It begins with specific details, concrete data and examples, and ends with an abstract generalization rule or principle. Reflect on, Socrates, on which the image is a wise, somewhat courtesy, and teacher who purposely gets into arguments with students over the subject matter through artful questioning, reflect on town meeting, on which the teachers who adapt this style use a great, deal of discussion and play a moderate role that enables students to work out answers to problem by themselves. Reflect on compulsive type, on which the teacher is fuzzy and choosy and teaches things over and over, and is concerned with functional order and structure. So reflect on boomer, and on which the teacher shouts in a strong voice, "You are going to learn. There is no nonsense in the classroom." So some, maverick on which everybody loves the teacher, that perhaps the principal, she raises difficult questions and presents ideas that disturb. To reflect some, quick one on which the teacher is calm and sincere but definite. The teacher, commands both respect and attention. So, in reflection on and on which the teacher is free enough to joke and laugh with the students, to reflect on explanatory, on which the teacher is in command of the subject matter and explains particular subject of the lesson, to reflect on interactive, on which through dialogue and questioning the teacher facilitates the development of student ideas. So pragmatic, on which the teacher, guides the students activities and facilitate self instructions and independent learning. So kinds of test and evaluation, matching type. So matching column A to, the other column. So fill in the blanks. Formulating questions by writing a statement with a blank portion on it, multiple choice. It is with a complete statement and giving three or more choices below this statement. Kinds of test and evaluation, completion form, completing the sentence by adding phrases or words quite related to fill in the blanks. Evaluation, it is to ask for multiple answers by putting the numbers depending on the item being asked. The kinds of test and evaluation, true or false, it is by, giving a statement and then analyze it, if it is true or not based on the lesson previously discussed. Objective essay, it is to, answer the question. It means that the answers will be based on the, other words and you know uh, and the lesson. Yes, true or false, it is by giving a statement and then analyze it if it is true. or not based on the lesson previously discussed and objective essay. It is to answer the questions verbatim, which means that the answer will be based on the words and phrases and coming from the lesson and not your own ideas and opinions. Kinds of test and evaluation and subjective essay. It could be answered either by your own opinion or based on the statement and explanation from the book, and puzzle type, the most artistic and unique kind of test on which you will consider the horizontal and vertical item. These all are kinds of puzzle type tests are there. So we are just testing and evaluating students' assessment, and we are checking their knowledge here. So evaluation could be written or in verbal way depending on the strategy applied by the teacher. It is depend on teacher strategy and on which on which kind of assessment they are applying. So evaluation could be written or maybe verbal. So they depending on the strategies applied by the teacher. So alternative assessment mean can be one of the evaluations, field trips and thesis, defense and exhibits, field demonstration and insight competitions. So these are all about we have discussed some teachings method here. So these all about the method. So now we are just discussing one by one. Again, we are just revising some methods. So we have discussed these points, learner and the teacher. So these are, professional qualities. So what we have discussed in this slide, we have discussed some, positive outlook in life and good attitude. So understand your task and we must understand task and understand our responsibility. So teaching as a profession, taking pride of teaching as a profession. So then after the learner, so the learner is an embodied spirit. He's an union of a sentiment body and a rational soul. His body experiences sensations and feels pleasure and pain. His soul is the principle of spiritual acts. The source of intellectual abstraction, self-reflection, and the free rational. And body and soul exist in mutual and dependence. So let us, feed the body as well as spirit, and man does not live by bread alone. So, we have discussed some qualities of learner and some method on learner, so equipped with the cognitive as well as appetitive faculties, cognitive five senses able to see, smell, hear, touch, and taste. Imagination able to form representations of material objects which are not present to their sense. Memory able to retain, recall, and recognize past mental act. Intellect can form concepts or ideas and makes judgment. So gives are his feelings and emotions and rational will. The pain and joy of an object or an activity, it is indicated through the character of an individual. Five elements. Their ability, it determines, their capacity to understand and assimilation information for their own use and application, categorized into physical fast, average, slow achievers, and mental superior, above average, and below average. So aptitude means, refers to the student's innate talent or gift, a natural capacity to learn certain skills. Interest refers to attraction or strong appeal for something. Lessons that give them the chance to express their deep feelings for objects or actions. will be more meaningful and easily absorbed. So, family and cultural background means students who come from different socio-economic background and manifest a wide range of behavior due to difference in upbringing practices, attitudes. Students have a unique way of thinking and reacting also. So positive attitudes are curiosity. So students are all time eager, all time having a curiosity to learn different things. Responsibility, they pursue assignment tasks to completion despite personal constraints, accountable to their actions and decisions. So creativity means being imaginative. They can think of new ways of arriving at solutions to their problem. They can innovate procedures and techniques. The learner, a persistent student sustain interest in a learning activity, not mindful of the extra time and effort being spent. Basic examples to this is Gardner's multiple intelligence theory. For this learning environment, it consists of the physical as well as the psychological environment that surrounding the learners and that influence as his her learning. It is the classroom and all the instructional features and the non tactic classroom climate needed in planning and implementing all teaching and learning activities. So the learning environment arrangement of furniture, the furniture like the table of for demonstrations and located in front of the rooms and the chairs facing it are neatly and arranged with the sufficient spaces in between for ease in moving around and display shelves for the safe keeping of projects, collections, and outstanding outwork are located at the sites. Attached to the wall is a board, and in front is a whiteboard or blackboard used for discussion and illustrations related to the lesson. So, physical condition of the classroom, it must be clean and it must be orderly. One or two frames create a pleasant and inviting aura. So natural light and flowing fresh air added to their comfort and ease as they tackle the learning task free from noise coming from the surroundings. Students' concentration and interest are easily sustained. The doors and windows could be open and closed with less difficulty, and noise will light fixtures that could easily be found. The learning environment, the nuclear and enthusiastic voice of the teacher that elicits equally eager and key responses from the students help create a conducive and beneficial ambience for learning. Supplies and material must be prepared earlier. A system of distribution and tribal must be observed. Positive mood set by both parties, the teacher and the learner, could keep the activities lively and flowless. So interactions, diverse situation may exist in the classroom at any given time. Teachers must be sensitive to positive and negative interactions and must immediately undertake an instant revision or adjustment in the methodology when necessary. The learning, so the learning So learning environment which encourage people to be active and which promotes and facilitates the individual's discovery of the personal meaning of the idea, which emphasizes the personal and subjective nature of learning, in which difference is good and desirable, which consistently recognizes people's right to make mistakes, which tolerates sanctity, in which Evaluations is a cooperative process which emphasizes on self-evaluations, which encourage openness of self rather than concealment of self, in which people are encouraged to trust themselves as well as external sources, in which people feel they are respected, in which people feel they are accepted, which permits confrontation, a place therefore where people feel they are respected and accepted for who they are and for what they say and do is a conducive atmosphere of learning. The learning environment place, so therefore, where people feel they are respected and they are accepted and for they are, for what they say and do is a conducive atmosphere of learning. So, of learning, so effective bulletin boards we require. If, yes. Effective bulletin boards we require use 3D items such as constructs of toys, spaceships to accent and it color and make your own cuts outs using copies and from a book or the computer, and you can trace them onto the bulletin board with the help of an overhead projector. Use twisted brown and blue chalk and paper to make a wine-like border and be creative and have a fun. So teaching in teaching principles, they are guides to make teaching and learning effective, wholesome, and meaningful. Webster says a principle is comprehensive law or doctrine which an accepted or professed rule of action or conduct is derived Latin word, and the principle like which means the beginning or the end of all facts, circumstances, or states of affairs. Affairs and teaching principles. It has five areas to consider: respect for individual, democracy as a way of life, and providing suitable condition for the development and maintenance of a sound personality, improving group living in the classroom, improving the classroom environment. So teaching principles: respect for the individual, it explains the respect for self, confidence, and intellectual and emotional integrity of the individual. Express expressions such as learning by doing, and understand before memorizing, and have become a principle as well as a theory of today. So, democracy as a way of life, one of the major goals of education in the Philippines is to foster, promote, and develop democracy as a way of life. It implies respect for potentialities of individual, obligations of each individual to contribute to the welfare of the group of which he is a member. So, participation in experience which will foster social, economic, intellectual, and physical growth. Right of every individual to make a choice commensurate with his intellectual capacity and maturity. So, teaching principle providing suitable conditions. It means that the school life is of great importance in determining the present and future mental health and strength of personality, the personality of the learner. It includes it includes therefore learning material and various methods being utilized. So, teaching principles, improving group living, it means that teachers should understand what group dynamics is all about and what techniques must be used intelligently for group leadership. Lastly, in improving the classroom environment, teacher should see to should see about the it means that teacher should understand that group dynamics is all about what techniques must be used intelligently for group leadership. Lastly it in improving the classroom environment, teachers should see to it that the physical environment for his classroom will provide a maximum degree of best condition. So principles of learning, learning is an experience which occurs inside the learner and is activated by the learner. So the process of learning is primarily controlled by the learner and not by the teacher. So in principal learning we have we have discussed about the meaning, layers of ideas, and principles of learning, behavior, if experience is the best teacher, then teacher should make use of experimental learning. So learning is a cooperative and collaborative process, and learning is an evolutionary process, and one of the richest resource for learning is the learner himself. So then after the process of learning is emotional as well as intellectual, and the process of problem solving and learning are highly unique and individual. Instructional planning also we have discussed, and types of yearly instructional plan and flipping secondary learning competencies, and for tertiary level it is called as course syllabus. Other term for this is the course plan or course of study, and lesson plan could be done weekly or daily elements of lesson plan, and the objective topic or subject matter, materials, procedure or lesson development, evaluation, assignment. So objectives, so it may be a statement or questions in a nature, and like to explain the causes of the thinking down to of the ozone layer, may be converted into what are the cause of the thinking down of the ozone layer. So cognitive mind, affective feelings and appreciation, psychomotor action or to do something, to do things. So yes, specific, measurable, and attainable, and it is result oriented or reliable, time bound and terminal, and these are taxonomy theory. Then after level of cognitive domain, knowledge and comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, evaluation, and levels of affective domain, receiving and responding, and and valuing and organization and characterization. So in observing, imitating, practicing, adapting, and speed, strength, and techniques, and the basic parts of lesson, subject, objective, subject matter, materials, procedure, evaluation, assignment, topic or subject matter, main course of the lesson, the center of the discussion, materials, and teaching procedure, formative check, student participation, closure, and their homework or assignment. They are, snap and strength, and they enforce the attention. They enforce the retention of concept. It will serve as the preparation for the next lesson, and role of the teacher in doing activities as part of the lessons. Selection and use of teaching strategies. What I hear, I forget, and what I see, I remember. What I do, I understand. So section also we have discussed. Yes, now yes, symbolic, concrete, research-based, abstract, and strategies and brain-based instructions and descriptive pattern organizer and event, and we need to understand about the date, time, and venue, and date, time, venue, and episode of cause and effect person. Then after concept pattern organizer and characteristics example, and concept classroom management, assertive discipline, and then after we classroom management, and then after behavior theory, Skinner given by Skinner, modeling all children to conform by use of standard punishments and reward. The initial condition are individuals, and the equations are those behaviors techniques set out to modify the individuals, and transitional analysis studies interactions also we have discussed, and then after the classroom management, different approaches and methods demonstrate skills, and provide guided practice, and check for understanding and provide feedback, and then after different approaches and methods how to do it, explain the rational and objectives the lessons, and inform them of how long the lesson will take. Different approaches and method example, deductive method, advantages and disadvantages. In inductive method is less teacher directed than a deductive method. It begins with specific and details concrete data and examples, and ends with an abstract generalization, a rule of principle. To reflect on Socrates, on which the image is devised, somewhere, somewhat, university and teacher who purposely gets into arguments. Reflect on town meeting. Also, we have discussed reflect on compulsive tribe, and then after the boomer, on which teacher shouts in a strong voice, and sorry, also we have discussed entertainer, experimentally interactive, pragmatic, and matching tie, filling the blanks, multiple choice, kinds of test, evaluation, completion form, and true and false, objective essays, subjective essays, puzzles type. So evaluation, evaluation could be written or maybe in verbal. So way depending on the strategies applied by the teachers, and alternative assessment can be done on the uh, one of the evaluations, field trips, thesis, defensive exhibits, field demonstration, and inside competitions. So this is all about. So already assessment we have discussed how to close this thing. Close. Really, actually, I want to close this meeting. How to close? How to close it? Thank you for teaching. Now we are just done.